Sound speeds, and welcome back to Masked Mics. Now, before we go and unmask the two microphones that are masked before me, let me say this. If you have not yet watched the other videos in the Masked Mics series leading up to this one, you'll want to stop right now and watch them in numbered order starting at the beginning. This is not really a series you can pick up in the middle because they all feed into each other. So trust me on that and thank me later. But for right now, let's go ahead and unmask these two mics, starting with microphone number 1, the TLM-103 by Neumann. And microphone number 2 is the AKG C414B ULS. Now, I chose these two microphones to put against each other this episode because they are both priced over the $1,000 price point. This one right here, the TLM-103, can be bought online between about $1,250 and about $1,300. And the AKG microphone is on, usually around about $1,050 to maybe $1,100. Now, these microphones do come with various different versions of them that you can get with, a windscreen, with a shock mount, with various accessories, that kind of thing. But bare bones, basic microphones themselves and what they come with as a standard package, those are the prices. And there are links down in the description for you to check them out. Now, the TLM-103, I've heard argued online that it is the capsule, cardioid at that, capsule from the U87. But by now, since you've watched the other videos in the series, you've heard me put the capsule of the U87, the cardioid pattern, against this microphone in another episode of Masked Mics, and they do sound different. So whether or not they are or are not, I'll leave that up to you to decide, because there is mixed information online about that, and I have not found any documentation from Neumann to clarify and state that yes, they are the same. Granted, they could be tweaked differently, and the noise floors could be different as the sensitivity and everything else simply because of the components used, or because maybe that they decide to make the sound a little bit different because they are two very different microphones. Don't know the answer. What I can tell you is that that one microphone is German and this one is Austrian. Now, this is a multi-pattern microphone. There is 4 patterns on this mic at that. Now, it is, of course, in cardioid pattern mode right now. Now, the interesting thing about the AKG mic, the 414, is there's various different versions that have been released in the 414 series throughout time. Sometimes they change the shape of the microphone, sometimes they change the shock mount, sometimes they change the number of patterns, sometimes they change all of the above, or the coloring. They change various different aspects of that microphone, and they have throughout time. Down in the description below, I have a link to the story of the 414 if you're interested. Now, these microphones are on loan to me from 2 different gentlemen who you probably might be familiar with here on YouTube. The TLM-103 is on loan to me from Booth Junkie himself, Mike Delgadio, a friend of mine who I cannot thank enough for loaning this to me. And my other friend here that loaned this one to me is Mike Wynn of the Michael Wynn YouTube channel. So between these two guys, you will have links in the description down below. And of course, you can find links to their channels at the end of this video if you're not familiar with either one of them. But for right now, I think there are 2 new Masked Mics that would like to be compared to each other. Get your listening ears on, because before me, I have 2 new Masked Mics for us to compare. But before we do, why don't we start with a noise floor test? To help you compare these microphones, I'm going to tell you why I started Sound Speeds. I did tell this story in a live stream, but there was only 15 or 20 people in there at the time, and since I never re-air the live streams, if you missed it, you missed out until today. Now, I know this is going to come as quite a shocker, but I'm going to admit it to you. I'm a sound geek. I love sound. It does not matter if it's related to boom poles, shock mounts, recorders, wireless microphones, or even 7-foot microphones made by EV. And yes, there is such a thing, the 743, link down in the description. I geek out about this. And most of my friends that work in the film industry, they would rather talk about film industry related sound stuff than talking about the outside world that is not sound for the film industry related. So there's a lot of aspects of sound that I like to geek out about, and I do teach various different aspects of sound in independent classes. I've taught at high schools, at colleges, I've taught union classes, I've even private mentored people, I've tutored people on the side related to sound. I've spent a lot of time on the phone. I've spent a lot of time online talking about sound. I love talking about sound and educating, what have you. That's one of the reasons I got into Sound Speeds. However, let me sidestep for a second and tell you, as a growing Gen X boy in the 1980s, I was into gaming. It started with an Atari 2600. My family also had a Commodore 64 and later a 128. After the Atari 2600, I did get a Sega Master System, followed by a Sega Genesis, and then later a PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and I got into PC gaming at some point when those started to be a lot better than console gaming, in my opinion. Also, that was at the urging of my wife, who started to play World of Warcraft, and she said, "You'd probably really like this because you liked Dungeons & Dragons as a kid." She was right. I started playing it a whole lot. She decided to take a breather from WoW for a while and play Star Wars: The Old Republic, so I got into that as well. Then it did not take very long for her to decide that she was not going to spend her life away doing that, and decided to get a few hobbies that were not related to online gaming. I went back into WoW after a period more in Star Wars: The Old Republic. And if you've never played WoW, you'll probably understand, at least when I tell you this, that there is a game timer on the inside. And it's not a game timer like, elapse. You log in 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, even though I'm sure there is one of those too. What I'm talking about is a game timer it'll tell you how long you've played your character and how long you've played your character at that level. But there's also a timer that you can get to that tells you total amount of time you played in the game. Well, that was something that I had never seen before, but I did happen to come across it one day, and I saw about 200 days were played. And just to give you an idea, every 60 seconds you play in the game amounts to 1 minute on the timer. Every 60 seconds amounts to 1 hour. Every 24 hours amounts to 1 day. So 200 days is approaching 2/3 of a year. And I'd only been playing WoW for maybe 4.5 years, and that includes a quick hiatus that I took for about 15 months or so when Mists of Pandaria came out, because I can't stand the whole idea of Kung Fu Panda and playing that in WoW. And it was very difficult for me to think about that. So if you can imagine me sidestepping out of WoW and playing Star Wars, there was additional time in there that I played that. So it's easy to imagine me spending 2/3 of 1 year out of 4.5 years playing games. When I saw that timer, it was quite a shock to me, I guess you could say. I was like, I can't believe that I have spent all this time playing these games and I have nothing to show for it. If I don't pay my $15 monthly subscription fee, my character goes into the digital abyss and it will only show up on the WoW armory for about 18 months or whatever, until it fades away and you can no longer see my character. But as sad as that is to say, the time you lose out is even more sad. And I was thinking about it and said to myself, there is so many aspects of sound that I really want to investigate and really like to share with people, but I'm wasting all of my time doing gaming. So some of my gaming friends are probably watching this, and I've never really told them this, but that's the reason why I don't play those games anymore with you guys. Yes, I do miss it from time to time in long editing sessions, and I'm like, why in the world am I driving myself crazy and spending all my time at night doing this? But then I remember that I would farm gold in Dragon Soul raids, or I would go back into Kata raids and do those just to try to farm some gold, because it's fun to solo when you used to have really difficult times in it back in the day. But I don't need to be doing that with my life anymore. I'm a father, I'm over 40, and I have a lot of aspects of sound that I like to share with the world. And I could also harness my love for education and teach people and help them. And since I'm a professional in the film industry, that's kind of a rare thing for you to see on YouTube. So I thought I would bring to you guys my education background, what I want to share with sound in mind to you, and share it with the world in YouTube. Because at least when I finally one day stop producing videos, these videos will still live online and you'll be able to see them and share them and hopefully learn from them, and the future generations to come will too. So that's why I started Sound Speeds. Hopefully that's giving you enough time to kind of figure out which of these two microphones you like better. Is it microphone 1 or is it microphone 2? I don't know what they are. I guess you're going to have to watch the next video and see for yourself when I unmask them. But until then, they're going to be my secret. Take care. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.